Gentlemen, let's talk about crime. Again, there's local law enforcement, there's federal law enforcement. The governor sits between them. Steve Hilton, what are things you would do as governor if you want to make Californians safer as governor?
Well, look, I've said it before. Woke is weak.
Oh, Steve, look at him jumping in and taking
All right, go ahead. Stephen Cloobeck, go ahead.
I'm fine. You go for it.
Go ahead.
I've learned from a great journalist like you. Come on, you do this all the time. This is your trick. Woke is weak, and we need brass balls. We need leadership. Look, we have laws. We have rule of law. We all have to follow the laws. Okay, it starts with the governor of California, and if we have a mask mandate, we wear masks. Yeah, I just took a swipe because that was really bad. I mean, you must follow the laws, and we don't steal. We don't steal, but at the same time, we have warmth and compassion if somebody needs a loaf of bread. But we don't give away what we don't have. We must take care of family first. And if you want to go into, we were talking about immigration too, sane and humane immigration. Nobody wants criminals in their homes, their schools, or their workplace.
So, but let's stay on crime for a minute. And again, I'm asking for specifics so the voters can understand. If you were governor, what would you do? What
proposition?
Steps?
I would float a new proposition to enhance Proposition 36, okay, and make sure that we don't steal. It's not $950; it's zero.
Okay.
Okay, but go ahead, Steve.
So look, you're right that it's a very decentralized area of policy, probably more than most, and that's the reality. Here's what I would do as governor: is reverse this. In a way, one of the main drivers of the crime explosion in California, which has been the prison closure program that really started with Jerry Brown, accelerated under Gavin Newsom, part of criminal justice reform, this idea of decarceration, that nobody should be in jail because jail is racist, because every time you see a disproportionate racial profile and anything, that's the result of racism. There's all this ideology that said we're closing state prisons. They've closed 4 in the last few years, big prisons, and there's another 5th slated for closure. What's the consequence of that? Tens of thousands of dangerous, violent criminals have been released either into the community directly, many of them have committed crimes, terrible crimes, and we see stories of that all the time, or transferred to county jails. County jails are now completely overcrowded. What does that mean? That means that judges at the local level know that the jails are full. So they're not giving criminals who should be in jail custodial sentences. What does that mean? It means that law enforcement, I talk to them all the time, are totally demoralized because they know that if they apprehend and they put themselves at risk, apprehend criminals, you're going to get what they refer to now as catch and release in California. Go in one door, out the other, because everyone knows the jails are full. What does that mean in turn? When the law enforcement doesn't bother because they know nothing's going to happen, people have no confidence in the system. The public has no confidence, and so they don't even bother reporting crime because they know nothing's going to happen. So all of that is the consequence of the prison closure program. So the single most specific and useful thing that a governor could do would be to reverse that program, increase prison capacity, not only so that we can actually hold criminals accountable for their behavior, the punishment part of it, but also the rehabilitation part of it. When you don't have enough prison capacity, you can't do proper rehabilitation.
Are those buildings still available?
Some of them. I mean, I did an event when I announced my policy. I stood in front of one of them that's still there. But again, we got to be thoughtful about it.
Okay.
So
Steve,
can I just make this point? It's very important about rehabilitation.
You speak so long. You just like
I'm trying to give you an answer to the question. Yeah. Rehabilitation is actually one of the most important things we can do to cut crime, because a large proportion of crime is repeat crime from repeat offenders. And so actually, if you look at some of the states with the best record on rehabilitation, I think Virginia currently has the best. It's around 20%. In California, it's nearly 50%. That's a huge difference. And if we had more prison capacity, we could do real rehabilitation and thereby reduce crime.
All right. So, Stephen, what are your thoughts on more prison capacity, and what are your thoughts on ending recidivism rates as high as California has?
Thank you. Well, I didn't stand outside the prison. I was in Lancaster State Prison in cell block 5. Okay. And I spoke with 30 prisoners, life without the possibility of parole. I did push-ups with one. I kicked his ass. But I can tell you this. I've talked to the guards. I've talked to the inmates. It's bespoke. There has to be new set of eyes on the entire policy and procedure. And again, you've got the prison guard union. That is an impediment here, and you're going to have to sit down and speak with them. We let out about 35% of the inmates in California prisons, but our budget stayed the same. How does that math work? It doesn't. It doesn't work. And 20% of, 100% of the crimes are done by 20% of the individuals. And frankly, some of them need to be locked up for the rest of their life. Okay, it has to be extremely bespoke. And even the parole system in California, with all these enhancements that these regulations have been put on, you could be standing next to somebody, unfortunately, as a juvenile and witness a shooting, and you get caught up in that shooting, and you could have life without the possibility of parole. That is egregious and wrong. And there's so many individuals in the system that have done well, that have gotten their degree in school, that should come out, that want to help the system, and they're not being left out. They're not being let out to help fix the system. It totally needs to be re-looked at in totality. And Steve and I are saying somewhat the same. And if he and I work together, we could fix the entire system and make California safer in everyone's home, school, and workplace.
Stipulating these are all topics we could spend an hour on each. I just want to move to a few more things. Let's use the president's relationship with Gavin Newsom around immigration, the National Guard, deportation, as kind of a case study, an opportunity to folks to understand how you would approach not just Washington, but specifically Donald Trump. Because if either of you win, you're going to be dealing with them for months at a time. So, Stephen Cloobeck, just analyze, how did Gavin Newsom deal with President Trump in Washington on the issues of National Guard? It's an ongoing fight. How did he deal with it that you would do the same? What would you have done differently?
I think they came at each other at the beginning of their relationship, not even listening to one another. You have to unify. Gavin Newsom went in and immediately said, let's resist. And I vociferously disagree. We must unify. California, you should be the bully pulpit of the United States, as it was and should be in the future.
So stylistically, you'd be more accommodating. But in terms of the policy, would you object to the deportations? Would you object to the use of the National Guard?
Look, the Biden administration did an absolutely horrific job, and Ms. Harris, no IQ, no EQ, and paying attention to immigration. Immigration needs to be done in a sane, humane way. We need proper immigration. I'm a grandson of immigrants, and my family didn't violate the law. You come here as an immigrant, it's a privilege. You follow our laws. And if you don't follow our laws, you get your day in court. And if it's not adjudicated properly, you get booted. But you have to add value. But there needs to be a pathway to citizenship for all of those folks that have been here over the last 10, 20, 25 years, that have paid taxes properly, that have added value. Okay. And we need just a unified approach in the great country of California with the United States of America to work together to come up with sane, humane immigration. Okay, it's as simple as that. You violate our laws, you're here on privilege, you get your day in court. Look, we don't have enough judges right now. I was head of tourism in the United States. I worked with DHS and CBP very closely. They know who the bad people are. But I don't like having the National Guard not unified with the federal government coming into our communities. We should be working close together to make sure our communities are safe, because you know what? We're actually putting Customs and Borders and Homeland Security at risk going into those communities. Okay? We're not allowing them perimeters to be advanced. Like when Diddy was arrested, DHS was involved in HSI under Homeland Security. There was a perimeter set up around his homes in Miami and Los Angeles, and everyone was protected. They went into the asset. They got the bad people. They got all the evidence, and it was seamless. But there's a better way of doing it, but you can only do that when you unify. And I got a problem with this resistance philosophy. We must unify. We got to be collaborative.
Yeah, I agree that we've got to work together, and would be my attitude generally as governor with the federal administration, frankly, of whatever party. But right now, certainly for the first 2 years, we know it's going to be the Trump administration. I have a relationship with the president. I'm friends with half the cabinet. I can work well with them.
Do you have his cell phone?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, so do I.
Okay, but and so do a lot of people. I think the thing is that the attitude completely with you on immigration specifically. Look, I'm a legal immigrant. And I'm proudly so. Moved in 2012. My wife and two sons, became an American. Couldn't be more proud to be an American and a Californian. As
Can
I
you get
often
rid of
say,
that funny accent, though?
no, I'm working on it. There's certain words you have to say in an American accent, otherwise you sound much too hoity-toity. So, but big one, by the way, Steve, I know
What?
you and I talk about it a lot
What's this?
when we're in the Central Valley talking to our great farmers about how we
Yeah.
need to get them water. I find if you say, you got to say water. We need water for our
No,
farmers.
it's water.
Exactly. Look, on immigration, I think that it's just very clear that the vast majority of people expect us to enforce the law. I proudly want to support our legal immigrant community to have a shot at the California dream, all the other things we're doing to help with that. But you've got to enforce the law. And that's what's happening now with federal immigration law. I think the problem is this attitude of resistance, exactly as you say, Steve. And it goes back right to the first Trump administration in California when we passed here SB 54, the original sanctuary state law. And they hide behind that. And you saw that in the confrontation in Los Angeles, where you saw the National Guard and all of that as well. Sanctuary state, we can't cooperate with federal law enforcement.
You don't just run Humvees into
No, no,
community.
no.
you
Wait. Let me just get to the point on the sanctuary state law, which is that they say because of that law, we can't cooperate with federal law enforcement at all in terms of their operations. Not true. If you actually look at that bill, and it was criticized by some Democrats at the time for this exact point, there's a long list there of specific crimes, over 200 specific crimes listed in the sanctuary state law for which it is the term in the legislation is discretion. Local law enforcement has discretion to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement when you're dealing with people who have either have committed or are suspected of committing a long list of crimes, whether that's serious ones like murder and violence and so on, even drug possession. So it's not true to say that they can't cooperate because of the sanctuary state law. They can and they should.
Are you saying then sanctuary state law is like Hamas being allowed to keep their weapons in hospitals and mosques, churches? So
all of that kind of thing could be avoided if
no
you
one's ever
actually
asked you
had
that.
Common sense, practical cooperation between federal and
Hamas.
State and local law enforcement. You wouldn't need any of that.
Is sanctuary cities Hamas?
I don't really understand the comparison. I'm just telling you that the law allows for, even the sanctuary state law, which I disagree with, but even that allows for cooperation between state and local law enforcement and federal immigration enforcement, even within California's sanctuary state law. It's entirely political, this attitude of resistance, your word, and you're completely right to use it, and it is causing the kind of confrontation and chaos in immigrant communities that would be, it's the Democrats causing that because they are forcing the federal law enforcement to go into communities.
I think it's a lack of unification.
Sometimes you got to ask yourself, are you being lied to? They tell you that you max out on your 401k and on your IRA and then make you beg for permission to use your own money. It's time to get the full truth and discover a better way to grow and protect your money. Bank on Yourself is the proven retirement plan that's an alternative to banks and Wall Street, and they desperately don't want you to ever hear about it. It gives you guaranteed growth and tax-free retirement income. Your plan stays protected even when the markets dip. You're in control with access to your money anytime for emergencies or opportunities that come along without any penalties or restrictions. And even when you use your fund, your money keeps growing like you never touched it. Plus, with built-in inflation protection, your savings grow by a larger dollar amount every year. It's real financial security and peace of mind with a retirement plan that works for you. Right now, you can get a free report that reveals how you can bank on yourself and enjoy tax-free retirement income, guaranteed growth, and control of your own money. Just go to bankonyourself.com/Mark and get your free report. Again, that's bankonyourself.com/Mark, bankonyourself.com/Mark.